Pick it up much up.
Oh, they're out there.
Don't you have a gavel?
Summer in high school. We used to.
Yeah, I used to have a gavel.
Because I published it all the time.
Okay, we're going to call this meeting together. This is the regular session of the County Board of Commissioners. So it's Wednesday, January 30th at 7 o'clock. If we could all stand for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Our dear God, we love you, and we thank you that you love us. We're reminded of the scripture that says, if you don't know love, you don't know God, for God is love. And we ask you, Lord, that you help us love one another, love our citizens, forgive each other, be tender-hearted, kind, and understanding. Help us do your work through this board for our citizens. In your name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Lathrop,
Here.
Max Bauer,
Here.
Wheelock,
Yes, ma'am.
Thomas.
Yep.
Inman,
Here.
Rennie,
Here.
Lemko.
Yeah. Thank you. Next on is the approval of the minutes, December 26th.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the December 26, 2012 regular board meeting minutes.
I will support this.
Support by Rennie. Any
Roll
comments?
call. Roll call.
Okay, roll call.
Commissioner Max Bauer,
Abstain.
Wheelock,
Yes, ma'am.
Thomas.
Yep.
Inman,
Yes.
Rennie,
Yes.
Lathrop,
Yes.
Lemko.
Yes. Next is the approval of the January 2nd organizational meeting.
Move for approval.
Support.
Thomas and support by Max Bauer. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Next is the first public comment. You want to read the public comment rules, please?
Any person shall be permitted to address a meeting of the Board of Commissioners which is required to be open to the public under the provision of the Michigan Open Meetings Act as amended. Public comment shall be carried out in accordance with the following board rules and procedures. 1. Any person wishing to address the board shall state his or her name and address. 2. No person shall be allowed to speak more than once on the same matter, excluding time needed to answer commissioners' questions. The chairperson shall control the amount of time each person shall be allowed to speak, which shall not exceed 3 minutes. Chairperson may, at his or her discretion, extend the amount of time any person is allowed to speak.
Is there any public comment? I see we have a couple of guests. So, welcome, one of our students. What school?
Central High School.
Central, very good, welcome. Glad to have you here. Anybody else want to make public comment? Seeing none, we'll go on to the approval of the agenda. Any additions to the agenda? I have one. Claims has to be added. And then also the 911, Dave, does that have to be added to the agenda too?
Where do you want those?
Yes, it does.
Under the under new business you want, or administrators?
It's not. It's actually old business, but you can put it in the administrator's report. It'll be fine.
Both of them?
Both will be under new business.
Okay.
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 Anything else that has to be added to the agenda? Okay, motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Chairman, I would move to approve the agenda as amended.
Approved by Wheelock, support by
Second.
Inman. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion's carried. Next is the special order of business. Dan Scott's not here. I think we're still going to try and get that to him.
Yes, we are.
This is a certificate of appreciation for Dan Scott and all his years of helping in Grand Terrace County, and we really do appreciate what he's done
We're going to find a
over the
golf
years.
course in Florida.
Yeah.
Just one.
Action on the consent calendar.
Drop it. No need.
The purpose of the consent calendar is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with by one commission motion without discussion. Any member of the commission, staff, or the public may ask that any item on the consent calendar be removed therefrom and placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. Such requests will be automatically respected. If any item is not removed from the consent calendar, the action noted, receive and file or approval, is approved by a single commission action adopting the consent calendar. Receive and file, number 1, correspondence from American Red Cross, December 3rd. Number 2, Government Finance Officers Association Correspondence, December 24th. Number 3, Resignation Letter from Fleece, December 27th. Number 4, Grand Traverse Conservation District Monthly Report for December 2012. Number 5, Board of Public Works Finance Committee Work Session Minutes of September 19th and 20th. Number 6, Human Services Board Minutes of November 30th. Number 7, Grand Traverse Community Collaborative Minutes of December 6th. Number 8, Grand Traverse Central Dispatch Policy Board Minutes of December 13th. Number 9, Board of Public Works Minutes of December 13th. Referrals, none. Approvals. The Public Health and Safety Committee did not meet in January. Resource Management and Administration Committee recommends approval of the following resolutions. Number 10, Resource Recovery 2013 hauler licenses. Number 11, Child and Adolescent Health Center Grant Youth Health and Wellness Center. Number 12, Child and Adolescent Health Center Grant Kingsley Adolescent Health Center. Number 13, Delta Dental Grant Acceptance. Number 14, Veterans Affairs Inter-County Agreement with Leelanau County. Number 15, County Commissioner Appointments to other boards. Number 16, County Administrator Controller's Contract. Ways and Means Committee did not meet in January.
Is there any items from the public that they would like to see removed from the consent agenda? From the board?
Number 16.
16?
And Mr. Chairman, did you want me to pull number 15 for a revision?
I also want to pull 15, yes.
Okay, I'll pull 15.
Anything else want to be pulled from that consent agenda?
No, I'm all set.
Okay. We need approval of the consent agenda as amended.
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as amended.
Support by?
Support.
Max Barr. Any discussion? All those in favor of the...
Roll call on that.
Oh, roll call, excuse me.
Commissioner Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Thomas?
Yep.
Inman?
Yes.
Rennie?
Yes.
Lathrop?
Yes.
Max Bauer?
Yes.
Lemkool?
Yes. The consent agenda items that were pulled, county commissioner appointments, I am going to ask a change from those appointments on the back page. Commissioner Rennie has asked that he be not appointed to TC Talus because of his overloaded schedule. I didn't realize that he had 4 townships and 2 villages along with everything else that he had been assigned to. So I've told him that I would take on the responsibility of
That was
TC
my
Talus.
schedule.
So, anyway, so if you would, if we would make those appointments with that change, I would appreciate it.
I would move to approve the county commissioner appointments with the change indicating Chairman Lemkool will be on TC Talus instead of Commissioner Rennie.
Support by
Support.
I'll support that.
Lathrop. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Next is county administrator contract.
I will be brief. The first thing I want to say is I do want to retain Mr. Benda. I think he is a very good administrator. My reservation is not with his services, it is with the contract. One of the things, and I did have a conversation with Mr. Cooney about this, one of the things that I'm uncomfortable with is the word controller. It's my understanding, Mr. Cooney, that if we discontinue the contract, it would, with that word in there, it would take 5 votes versus 3 without it. Is that correct?
Well, if the contract, as a controller under Section 46.13B, in order to remove the controller, it would take a 5-2 vote of this board.
Yes.
Or 2/3, at least, majority. If this were not a controller position, it would be a mere majority, a 4-3 vote. We also talked about the fact that, the contract that was approved in December was an administrator controller that does reference 13B as the statute. under which Mr. Benda was appointed. And so I think at this point, I'm not sure that it's an issue that he's the administrator controller. Yeah.
Just to comment that, we've had that joint responsibilities since really the first administrator, Ross Childs was administrator and controller, Dennis Loya was administrator and controller. And then when we hired Dave Benda, we put administrator controller. And from what I understand on the administration side and versus the controller side is, if you are the controller, you are the responsible person for the financial matters of the county, and you are the one that is responsible for delivering the budget to the board for consideration. So, so I want to maintain that relationship between the two.
Okay. Chris?
I wasn't done.
I figured that. I knew that.
And I am going to try to be brief because I know that I'm probably in the minority here. The other thing that I'm uncomfortable with in the contract is the fact that it is a 3-year contract, and we are, and I understand from Mr. Benda's perspective that that's something that is, security for him, and but I don't want to tie the hands of the next board, whoever they may be. The other reservation that I have about it is I did not, first of all, I want it noted that I have never voted for one of these contracts. So if nothing else, you can't say I'm not consistent.
You are consistent.
And, well, I have contacted some national accounting firms, Plant Moran, and tried to get their take on it. They say that, in their opinion, that these duties need to be segregated, chief executive, which is what Mr. Benda is, and the controller. I've done research. Anyway, I'm going to be quiet now. I will not be consenting.
Is there, Larry?
Well, I'd just like to reiterate that even though technically the term of the contract is 3 years, the notice date provided by the board and to us, to Mr. Benda, does require a 6-month notice prior to the termination of the contract, which means that the board has to engage in discussions and deliberate and deliver a written notice to Mr. Benda prior to the 6-month notice. That means that actually after the 2nd year of his contract, during that 1st quarter, we have to meet and send him a notice to be in compliance with that notice, to that requirement in his contract for a 6-month notice prior to the 3-year contract ending. So in essence, the board has to act on his contract for the renewal right after the beginning of the 2nd year. So that's how I would address the issue of the 2-year versus the 3-year. If it was a 2-year with a 6-month notice, we would have to readdress it every 12 months in order to give the 6-month notice, and that makes absolutely no sense. The other issue is, for me personally, is that we want to send, and the 3-year contracts are consistent with city managers upon our last review, college presidents, county administrators, generally people that get the airport manager. The statute allows for a 3-year term, a 3-year contract when you get into a contract basis rather than that will. Well, what it does is that it provides a safety margin for us. So if we do have a county administrator that we're very proud of having and wanting to continue to retain, that we know that he will be here for 3 years. He, on the other hand, has to have a comfort level that when he joins a new employer, that he has a home to come to. That means he's got to sell his house. He's got to take that burden, especially in the down market, acquire another home or a place to live in Grand Traverse, move his family in, become a part of the community, and that takes a lot of time and effort, and in some cases it can be a strain on a family, those kinds of things, when they're constantly moving in that profession. So, it's a two-way street. So you got to give it's a protection for us with a notice out, which I think is fair. Gives protection for him so he knows if everything works out well with this board and future boards, he has a home and he's got sufficient notice that he knows that he can continue on or look for another job. So I think the contract, the way it's structured, is perfectly laid out. His compensation, in my opinion, is lower than what he deserves, but it isn't a step in the right direction. You know, Dennis was making $135. You take a look at other county administrators in our population market or above, they're making substantially more. The person in Midland who is now working as a county administrator has a higher compensation level and a better compensation package than Dave does. So I think we're getting a heck of a bargain with this current contract the way it is right now, given for 3 years, compared to if David got an offer and left, we would be 9 months out, put in neutral, probably would have to, if we want somebody with the same caliber that Dave has, an experience level, we probably end up would have to pay somebody at least equal or more. So I want to send a strong message to Dave Benda personally, that he's found a home, we're happy with him, we want him to move and make Grand Traverse County a part of his family, and hopefully this will be in his tenure of county administration, his last stop. And to do that, I think we need to approve the contract as is.
Is that a motion?
Is that a motion?
I would make a motion to approve the contract as presented.
Thank you. Is there anybody, Sonny?
The comment that I have is very simple. We, at the direction of the Board of Commissioners, the HR director went out and negotiated a contract with Mr. Benda to move to Traverse City. At the 11th hour meeting, this Board of Commissioners chopped that budget up, chopped that contract up. They took out some of the compensation, they took out some of the, and I can't even think about the name right now, but the length of time from the time that, if he was to leave and go elsewhere. What this does is this truly mirrors the contract that was absolutely negotiated in good faith by the Grand Traverse County HR Director and Mr. Benda to come to Grand Traverse County. And that's, to me, that's the only part that's important. This is the contract that was negotiated at the direction of this board between the between the HR Director and Mr. Benda. Now, he agreed to come here, we can get into all the discussions. Well, we had the discussions about whether we didn't know him. Whether it was going to take him a while to learn our community. All of those things, I think most of us are comfortable. He's doing a great job of getting there. Does he know everything in Grand Traverse County? No. Is he moving forward? Absolutely. And, the most important part about it, as far as I'm concerned, this is the contract that was negotiated in good faith to bring Mr. Benda to Grand Traverse County.
Anybody else have a comment? Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that, because that's what concerned me about this, was that other boards I've been on, we'd get a group of perhaps 3 commissioners out of the 9 and bargain with the administrator, and come back to the group and make a recommendation of a contract that had performance measures built into it. And I didn't see that happening this time, but I didn't know the history that you just said. So that's what bothered me personally. It's hard for me to say, yeah, because I didn't see that process, and it wasn't apparent to me. And being new, I felt maybe I was just dumb. Maybe this is the way that it happens. But so that's why I was uncomfortable with it.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Who seconded that?
Sonny. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Inman?
Yes.
Rennie?
Yes.
Lathrop?
Yes.
Max Bauer?
No.
Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Lemko?
Yes. Okay, thank you. Dave?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is the administrator's report.
Okay.
Reminds me of, oh, Mom, can we keep them?
Like a puppy.
The first thing on your packet under this item is the a request by Chris Kramer, who we all know and love. And Bob Cooney has looked at this and kind of agrees that we're inconsistent between our two different, we have committee packets that do one thing and a board agenda that does another, and it would be really good if we amended our rules to allow it to be a single format, that the administrator's report is really a departmental item, and that all the other departments can fall under that, because normally what we have is
Right.
departments coming in with various requests under my report. And in our committee reports, it's done the other way. So I think what she's proposing here is to have departmental action items where it says administrator report, then it becomes, administration becomes one of the reports underneath that.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve
Mr.
that?
Chairman, approve the change to the board rules, making department action items to include the administration as a department.
Support.
Okay, any other discussion? Thank you, Chris.
I would just ask that the motion just clarify that the highlighted items would be
Yeah,
added.
all the
Okay.
As
highlighted.
presented.
And/or special meetings is
Yeah.
added
Yes.
also.
All right.
So, okay, any discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Okay, the second item is, this building was crying out for some security, and we'd have some incidents, and the way we had been doing things is our janitorial service would come in and begin cleaning. They would lock the front doors sometime during the evening. If there was a meeting going on, they would do it somewhere around the time that they were leaving. Well, it came to our attention that some meetings went beyond that time, and so people were at home watching television, watching some of these either city council meeting or commissioner meeting, and wanted to get into the building, and the building was locked, which is really a violation of the Open Meetings Act. So that was brought to our attention by the city manager, and that led to a little bit more investigation about we've had homeless people in the basement, and we've had one of our porcelain patrol people had an incident out back, taking out the trash with one of those folks. There was a number of incidents that came up that led us to the conclusion that we need to have better security in this building. And we explored a number of different ways, including having a buzzer and a camera and have 911 buzz them in, which the 911 director made a very compelling argument that should not be done, because the homeless people would drive them crazy pressing on the buzzer. And,
It's a short trip.
yeah, and there were a number of, issues with that, but we have come up with a solution where we have DK Security opening the door a half hour before our meetings. The city would prefer 45 minutes, but they're going to pay for their own meetings. We figure it's going to cost somewhere between $2,500 and $3,000 a year. It's $15 an hour, so it's not that bad. Minimum of 3 hours, we negotiated that because it's not really worth a person's security guard's time to do it less than that. And we've got the city on board. Ben Bifus has already signed the city's portion of this. DK is going to split the bills for us, so we've got basically, it's all arranged. We need your approval on the policy. And it's all in your packet here, and I don't know if you have any questions regarding.
Sonny?
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the security policy for Grand Traverse County Governmental Center as outlined.
Second.
Second by Inman. Chris?
Dave, the porcelain patrol individual taking out the trash, how is this going to assist those instances?
I don't know that it's going to do much about that. I just know that we had a lot of homeless people in our area, and that was one of the instances that made me think that we need to have a security guard around here during our evening meetings at least. There's a lot of activity in the building. Because the way this building was designed, it is not, I mean, you can see how it's designed. Once you get in that front door, you can go anywhere you want, other than into the first floor area where the vaults are. So
when I dealt with that with mine, if we had a security problem like that, we always made sure a supervisor was there when somebody was taking the trash out. So it's up to Force and Patrol to make sure their people are secured and safe.
That their people are safe.
Dan?
Just going to ask David, the guards will be there not just to open the doors, but they're going to be there throughout our whole meeting until we adjourn?
That's correct.
Okay, I
And
like that.
we'll pay additional, if it goes beyond 3 hours, we'll have to pay a premium, I think it's $22 an hour or something like that.
Does he get voting rights?
We need to be quick.
No.
But he does, he will do a sweep of the building after his shift and before the shift to make sure that there's nobody snuck in the door and is hanging out in a corner somewhere. And that's happened in this building several times.
Will he be armed?
Possible to teach him how to run these cameras? We could save some money.
No, I don't think so.
No.
Well, having, been through the experience of coming in here late at night a couple times when everything should have been closed and finding people wandering around in the building or sitting at a table at the cafeteria or whatever the case may be, I certainly believe that this is a legitimate need of our community. The only other comment that, I guess I would encourage committee chairmen to look at their agendas very strongly, because there's no reason for us to hold a 20-minute meeting or a 45-minute meeting if that material can be moved to a different meeting, and we're going to pay $3 hours worth of security time here every time. So if we only have 2 or 3 items on an agenda, we can bunch some of these together. Now, as you noticed last month, we canceled 2 meetings. There just wasn't enough business that we had to conduct for the public health and safety or the Ways and Means meeting to justify holding the meeting. So, and as committee chairman, when Chris contacts us with the draft agendas for that next week's meeting, let's make legitimate decisions about whether or not it's necessary for us to hold a meeting.
Chris?
Dave, an open meeting is open to homeless people.
Sure, they can
They
come to
are
the meeting.
members of the public. Is DK Security going to do some kind of round around the building after the conclusion of the
Yes.
meeting?
That's exactly what they're going to do.
Any other
Because
discussion?
like you said, anybody can come into the building during our open
Yes.
meetings.
Just technically interested, will he be armed?
I
No.
don't believe so, but he's got a panic button, and, the police would arrive within
Okay.
a few minutes of pressing that panic button.
Okay.
And 911 will be able to see, upstairs what's going on, if there's anything going on. There's cameras being mounted, so.
Okay.
Don't play with your desk, there's one there too.
That's-
desk, Doctor.
Yeah, that's right.
Any other discussion? Charlie?
Yes, there's one point here about talking to these people and giving them a heads up if we're not going to have a meeting. And there's some times in there, and I don't know if us knowing when to cancel a meeting would be time enough to inform them with respect to this contract.
Well, the contract says within 24 hours. We have to post 18 in order to meet the open meetings requirement.
So we're following that.
And, we generally will see the draft agendas on Thursday before the meeting. So, we're usually 5 days ahead, so we're good.
I don't think we've ever run into a situation, since I've been here anyway, that we'd cancel the meeting within a day
Right.
of its,
Yeah,
being
if we
held.
generally cancel it, it's at least 3 or 4 days ahead of time.
Yeah.
Any other discussion?
Our meetings would be shorter if we didn't talk so much.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Next on the agenda is the Equalization Director contract.
You have in front of you a proposed agreement between the county and Mr. Baker, who is our interim equalization director, and Mr. Vanderbark will not be returning as our director. As a matter of fact, he's in Florida now. And if you want to talk about that later, that's fine.
Motion to approve.
So moved?
Support.
Motion by Wheelock, supported by Max Bauer. Any other discussion?
This is a perfect example of where Grand Traverse County was proactive in hiring a deputy director that was able to step in if we had a problem.
Yeah, and I've heard,
And
Great
Nothing but
comments.
great things from Jim. Thank you very much for everything that I hear is very positive.
Yeah, I've heard good comments about his leadership, your leadership also, and your ability to get the job done. So, any other comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Next on the agenda, strategic planning update discussion.
I asked asked Linda to poll the board members on when would be a good date to start talking to the department heads about their plans. We've received a number of those already. It's just a matter of putting it into a booklet now. She's received a couple of dates. A couple of them were on Wednesdays in February, a couple of Wednesdays. The other two were on Saturdays. I think 4 of you out of the 7 preferred Saturday. The only thing I'd like to say is that I don't know if it's going to be something that would reduce your turnout of elected officials especially. I think certainly the departments that will answer to me will be there for you, but I'm not so sure about judges and elected officials. I have a feeling that some of them will show up, but I can't.
Just to give you some history of the Board of Commissioners is that most of the times we've chose, because of our work schedule as county commissioners and the township board meetings, and then now our night meetings on every Wednesday, and we have township meetings on Tuesday and Monday, and other meetings scheduled for Thursday. If you really want some quality time and not have to worry about like coming in the morning from like 9 to noon or 1 or whatever, and then running back. He's got a business to run. You got a business to run. All this other kind of stuff is that Saturdays in the past, depending on the complexion of the county commission, has been we don't meet that often on Saturdays, maybe once or twice a year for strategic planning or budgeting, whatever. But it seems as though if we can just pick a Saturday that we all know will be here from 9 to noon, and who can show. It's just if they can show or not. But it does provide us some quality time, not knowing that we're going to be under pressure for coming back that evening for another meeting or whatever. And it's the people that work is a concern for locking them up all morning long as well. We got night meetings and township meetings, so Saturday seems to be, I don't know how everybody else feels, but devoting a Saturday from 9 to noon or something and just coming in here and trying to see what we got. And if we need to schedule another date, we can do that.
Yeah.
If
okay
everybody's happy with a Saturday date, I think that's probably good. If there's somebody that can't make it on a Saturday date, we do meet on Wednesdays, and we can bring them in on that Wednesday evening.
Yes.
They can make a presentation there.
Yeah.
So, it's just, it's an informative session for each of us to know what the departments want to look forward to. And so when we're prepared, before we go into our strategic session, to know what they want, and then we can kind of make our decisions from knowledge rather than from what if.
Yeah, my concern about Wednesdays, blending it into a meeting, is that we already have an agenda, and we try to get out of here at 9, sometimes 10, and then to mix strategic planning into a regular board meeting, I'd rather have it as a separate meeting.
Okay.
And the other thing is do we want to have it recorded?
Yeah,
Okay.
we've done that in the past.
Okay.
Quite honestly, I don't think we're going to be able to finish it in just one session.
No, we'll probably have 2
This
Saturdays.
is going to be,
We've had a couple Saturdays, yeah.
Let me further describe how I envision this process going and see if you concur with that. My idea has been to, and I've already talked with one facilitator, meet with another one tomorrow. The first one's from NMC. The next one I think is from North Sky. But at any rate, this group, with the department heads, they're to put together their plans, their ideas about what they see needs to be done in the next 3 years, or should be done, ought to be done in the next 3 years. And they're going to bring that and kind of go over that. You're going to have the report that they put together, and maybe not, but they're going to spend 10 to 15 minutes just describing what's there. Hopefully it'll take less than 10 to 15 minutes, but your role is just going to be to listen to what they have to say about their plans for the future and get an idea of what they're thinking. And then at the end of that, once we've listened to all that, then we'll go through a facilitation process, a real strategic planning process, where we talk about not only the things that the departments want, but, what's the role of economic development in our community? What's the role of parks? What's the role of this? What's the role of that? What's the role of our government, anyway? and hopefully get to the end of that process. And at the end of, once we get the strategic plan put together, it should be a guidance for the budget. It should be a guidance for me, for goals for the year. It will have all those things. So that's kind of, in the middle is the facilitation process. And I'm waiting for a couple of proposals, and I'll be talking to you next week about how those turned out and whether we recommend one of those facilitators or not, and give you some more information about it.
Well, if I could speak, I'm sensing what Commissioner Maxwell was saying is that, I can envision all the various departments and areas of county government coming in and giving that presentation, and then that probably would absorb the majority of the time between 9 and noon, I would guess.
Sure.
And then we would want to absorb all that, take it home and read it and take notes or whatever, come back and then do what we see are the broader issues as well. And then, in the past, what we have done is that each one is given, this is the one way we've done it. We've had cards where we
No,
list
I'm
what
not
we...
giving you sticky dots.
No sticky dots. And if they're sticky dots, everyone gets a different color. That, we've listed what we think are the priorities we need to deal with during the next 12 months. And that ends up being the work plan, or, for the 3 years. And then we go back and develop a work plan from there. And we categorize everything in certain areas if we want to use the same format that we have now. And then whoever gets the most votes, that's where the list is in terms of priority and stuff like that. And that's how we've developed the strategic plan so far over the last 3 to 4 or 5 years. But I'm certainly open to a different format or different style.
Well, we're waiting for a proposal from one, and we're going to talk to another one tomorrow.
But I could
and we'll
see
what
that
they
second
say.
being more, the first meeting being absorb everything, and the second being more deliberating
Right.
and prioritizing.
Constituent wanting.
That's kind of the way we're setting it up.
Okay.
Well, I think the important thing to remember is there's two key parts about a strategic planning session that we're talking about. One is the interacting with the departments, and we all every day interact with the public. But oftentimes, we forget that we also, in order to be effective, need to be able to interact with each other. And we very rarely have the opportunity to have open and frank discussions about issues that are priorities to each of us individually throughout the community. And, I think that's if there's a part that we've lost over the last couple of years, and when I first came here, we did a Saturday retreat where we all went and we had lunch and we spent the day and we, talked about everything in the world, but...
Threw darts at one another?
What's that?
Threw darts at one another?
I don't remember that part, but the thing about it is it gives you an opportunity to interact with your departments, which is important, but you need to interact with each other. I said that, I've been doing this a long time and I don't have as much time as I used to have, but some of the best things I ever did going to townships and county association meetings and things was the interacting with other commissioners from my own community and other commissioners from other communities. Those were the most educational part of those conferences. The sit down and read the program that's developed for you, I can do that at home. But I don't have the opportunity to interact with other people and talk about what issues they have in their communities.
Dan?
I agree with that 1,000,000%. I know that when I go to medical meetings, you have lectures you sit through, but I learn more when I get together with other docs and just have fireside chat type of stuff. So I look forward to this, and
Some of the best conversations.
I wish we'd find a way to get together more often that way. Yeah.
So Dave, if you'll have Linda then put the schedule together, if Saturdays is fine, and find the best dates, and then let everybody know what those dates are going to be, and the times.
Yep.
Okay?
Very good. Thank you.
Very good. Next is the technology stipend discussion.
Okay, as you know, or you all know by now, prior to December 31st, a stipend as a cash, basically an increase in your salary to cover the costs of technology was feasible. It would have been taxed as income, and that would have been fine. But after the first of the year, you can't raise your own compensation, so you can't do that. We did explore that you could probably get reimbursed for various technology costs up to a certain amount, which would work and wouldn't be taxable. But I think we have Don Sheehan here, who was asked by the board to come in and talk about this, and I don't know, maybe let Don come up and give his opinion about some of these things.
Good evening.
Evening.
Don Sheehan, IT Director. I do think that actually if the county were to purchase the devices, I mean, or at least, even if not that case, but standardize on the devices, that we would be able to offer a much higher level of support for them than if everyone picks their own device and, we've got 4 different things or 5 different things that people are using. Also see some advantages that the board themselves can help each other sometimes, Some are more tech savvy than others, and you're sitting right next to each other, and you can say, hey, how do I do this? What do I do here? And somebody else can show you right while you're there. So, as to choose, what device, and, there obviously are things that are worrying about, whether you have Wi-Fi at your home so that you can sync up, and, I don't think Dick has that at home yet, so might have to outfit you or something, but,
You can go to the coffee shop.
No, you can just come into the county
You can come
administration,
here.
they'll load it up
Here,
for them.
yeah.
But, you can standardize different methods for delivery, so, it can work with different devices. I just know that from an IT standpoint, it would be much easier if everybody was using the same thing. Even in that case, too, we could probably have a spare, so that if something happens to one for somebody, you'd have that spare available to say, yeah, here's another one while we get the other one fixed, or whatever needs to be done to it, so.
Larry?
Well, I certainly have had some time to think about it, and I guess I'm not in favor of the stipend situation. I would rather do one or two things. One is just have IT buy the notebooks or whatever they're called, iPads or whatever, and there's going to be some of us that are going to be technology challenged on it, and I'll be number one. I got a laptop at home, but I've never used one of those and loaded anything up on them, so we might need a little
I'll have
time.
my granddaughter come teach you.
We might need a little
kids.
half-hour presentation from you when we get all this stuff, if we do this, okay? But I'm fine with that, all of us having it. Now, the old policy, or the old structure was, when Dennis was here, was for those commissioners that wanted the technology outfit, we'll buy it for you and you can use it and see how it goes. And for the ones that would prefer to have paper, we'll just mail it to you. It's a voluntary thing, okay? So I thought that worked well, only Rob took him up on it.
Larry,
and-
can I have a motion?
No,
So we
because
have
I
a
want to
discussion.
suggest another issue, another opportunity. And the other opportunity is, rather than carrying something back and forth, is that the townships, like Garfield, East Bay, they have a laptop, just like he's got right there, Bob's got, and it's on everyone's desk. And the agenda's all loaded up on the agenda, on the laptop, and we can follow through, and it's broadcast, or it's set on one of the screens or whatever, so the public members can see it. And that was how NMU did it. They emailed us the agenda. We didn't have to carry anything. We could take notes or, wanted to print a page or whatever we could. But the agenda was emailed to us. We reviewed it before we went up to Marquette. When we got there, everybody had laptops on their tables, and we followed the agenda on the laptop, and it was also projected on the screen. I didn't have to carry anything to and from the meeting. So I would be in favor of that, or just giving everybody the iPads and we carry them back and forth.
Make the motion, Chris.
I would move that we direct our IT expert, Don Sheehan, to recommend, what do they call these?
Tablets.
Tablets. Or another such device for the county board. That's
Are you
probably...
pointing at me? Are you pointing at me?
I was, no. I will tell you, I was at, we need support before I can say.
Let's make this motion.
Yes,
I want to figure it
I'll
out.
hush.
There's a motion to,
Clarify your motion.
yeah,
Motion to direct him to
Staff to
Bid out
bid and
bid out,
purchase.
thank you, bid out
10
tech-
tablets or whatever.
the tablets that we need.
Right. And if we do end up looking at iPads, those are pretty much a fixed price. It doesn't really matter where you go, you pay the price. And I guess the question would be is, and I don't know, maybe that's from Dave, would you say everybody has to do it, or can some still receive paper?
Dickie Do would want
No,
paper.
I think we all need to go.
Yeah.
Some of us
I think-
kicking and screaming, but by George, I think we all need to go.
Is it going to be compatible with my dial phone?
No.
You'd have to come in.
Do I have a
Dick,
second on the motion?
I'll second it.
Okay. Do I have any more discussion?
I just want to say, this is what I carried to the special Board of Public Works meeting this afternoon over at Lafreniere, and I was able to do county business during the meeting. It's just, it's great. And if there's ever any question, the only thing I put on here is county business. All I have to do is hand it, if anybody wants to see it, I just hand it over. Here it is. It's, and this is what you carry. And please, hold up your notebook, Commissioner Inman.
This is my iPad right here.
Yeah, see?
I can work with this.
You can put this in there, Larry.
And I'm hanging on to this with two hands for the time being.
Any other discussion?
I like the format that's available in that. It puts it in a bookshelf format, and it's very, you can print out one page. When you're trying to print out emails, you get everything.
Get everything.
So the format that this can, the Dropbox format that you can do on this, I think is much more user-friendly.
I'm going to move this meeting along, if you don't
All right,
mind.
go.
I have a motion. Do I have any more discussion? Do we need a roll call on this?
Probably.
If we're going to spend the money, we do.
Okay?
You're not spending the money.
Well, you're going out for bid, that's all you're doing, you're not
We're
spending
going to
money.
go out for bid. We haven't spent the money yet.
But he's already stated that the bids are going to be basically the same, so.
Well, he's got to come back and get it
Okay.
approved.
It's probably
by
going to
us.
be available under our
Roll call.
group purchase.
Commissioner Inman,
Yes.
Rennie,
Yes.
Lathrop,
Yes.
Max Bauer,
Yes.
Wheelock,
Yes, ma'am.
Thomas,
Grudgingly.
Lemkool.
Yes.
All right.
Motion passes. Thank you.
All right, so you might have to work with some things, though, depending, everybody have wireless and
Oh, yeah.
getting things figured out there.
Expect a 30-minute training program.
Yeah.
We'll definitely get some, and that's, we'll pick out some applications that let you
Okay.
do things with them, and, yeah.
Don't be scared, Don. It'll be all right. Yeah.
Don, the only thing I'd ask on that is that if we're all getting them here, can they be shown on the television to pull them up, and so everybody at home would have the same thing that we would have on ours?
Well, I mean, right now, we have the video out, and the agenda is out there available, you can pull up on their own. and have
Okay.
it all. You're not gonna be able to plug yours, because then you have it.
Okay.
in the system as
All right.
well. Unless you have a connection over there. on the
Yeah,
wall.
okay. Okay, anything else in unfinished business? Next, we have new business, hardest hit loan rescue program, the county treasurer.
Mr. Chairman, the treasurer asked me to briefly present or explain this item, and the first thing I have to say is that Heidi did plan on being here, but she had a family situation to deal with and asked me to fill in. So I have to start off by saying I am not as versed in this subject as she is, but I did study it briefly. She did provide you with a brief summary, and in reading through the documentation that she included in your packet, it's pretty safe to say that this program is designed to help prevent property tax foreclosures, and basically we're trying to keep residents in their homes. She has signed up for this program. The funding was initially provided to the state of Michigan. MISTA actually has about $500 million in funding for this purpose. She did issue a press release on January 16th, and she has a link on the county treasurer's website if people are going to be faced with possibly tax foreclosure here in the next couple of months. She does have to receive some training regarding the application process, but I'm not sure how much more I should say. She feels it's a great program. She has talked to other county treasurers about it. She has signed up to partner with MSHDA in this process. Basically, the way this would work, if a taxpayer is eligible, they would have a lien placed on their property. It's a 0% non-amortizing loan. It's forgivable over a 5-year term. The rates are high, and it would only be, the interest would be due and payable if they would sell or transfer their home. This is really designed to keep people in their homes, and if they stay in their home and get back on their feet financially, after 5 years, these loans and the lien that's attached to the real property would be forgiven. Other than that, I really can't answer too many questions because I did not have a chance to study it. And she wanted you to be aware that she has signed up for this based on her discussions with other county treasurers who feel it's important that we do this or provide this service to our taxpayers if we can assist them to stay in their homes.
Sonny?
As I read this, I don't know that we are requiring board action here tonight. I think this is strictly information.
Information.
But what, I guess the one comment that I would make is, having been this board's representative on our land bank authority for a number of years now, every year we see tax foreclosed property and things that people are, trying to figure out how do they stay in their home, or how does their mother stay in their home. And each year, the land bank tries to jump through dozens of different kind of hoops, trying to let people retain their home, or unfortunately, sometimes we just simply can't make that happen. But this is another tool to help Grand Traverse County, as a leader in this community, keep people in their homes. And, I certainly commend Heidi for finding this program and trying to get it implemented in Grand Traverse County, because we absolutely need to do everything that's within our power to keep people in their homes.
One last comment regarding the funding. If the individual is approved, the funds are paid directly to their mortgage lender or to the county treasurer. So the funds here they're transferring to the appropriate parties once the application process is complete and approved by the county treasurer.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is removal of county clerk's name from accounts payable checks.
Do you want to talk about this, or do you want me to?
You can.
Okay. A while back, when I first arrived, I noted that the county clerk's name was on the accounts payable checks, and about 10 years ago, in a completely unrelated matter, I learned that the reason that the signatures are on the check is because those people have responsibilities toward the payment of that bill. And the treasurer's name is on the check to basically say that there's money in the bank to cover this check. And the clerk's name is on the check, or at least it was historically, when the clerk had the accounts payable function and was charged with making sure that all the county's policies were followed and there was money in the budget accounts, and had the jobs that basically are the job of the finance department now. When you went to the county controller form of government, all that got transferred over, and in many places it just never got changed. It's always been done that way. So I said to Dean, I don't want you to change any checks now, but the next set of checks that comes out, you want to kind of put the administrator controller on there, because he's the one that's authorized to do that. And Bonnie, when she came into office, found out about this. We were about to replace checks, and she had Mr. Cooney's, actually Mr. Forsyth, do some research and discovered that there is still a piece of the law that says that the clerk has to sign warrants for the payment of the payroll checks for the clerk, the treasurer, the register of deeds, basically the countywide elected officials, and the undersheriff. And So we kind of came to the conclusion that the proper way to do that is just put all three names on the payroll checks and everything would be fine. So, but she's asked that the board approve that and authorize that. Because really, the board actually directs that whole function. We are just ministers to the Board of Commissioners, and whatever the board wants, we'll do.
So the motion's going to be to add all three names to the checks,
To the payroll checks.
to the payroll checks.
And to authorize my name on the accounts payable check. Although, with the controller statute, I'm the guy who's responsible for that stuff.
Sorry.
Dave, we're not issuing payroll checks, we're doing electronic transfers to the checking
Mostly,
account.
yes. There's still some payroll checks out there.
There are?
Yes.
You can't legally eliminate
Required.
a paper check in all cases. We have most of our checks, payroll checks are electronic deposit, but we still have some manual payroll checks that we prepare.
I guess I'm a little bit confused. So basically, all three signatures will be listed on the check, but 2 signatures are required on each check that's issued?
Actually, the treasurers and the clerks would be required under the 6 countywide elected officials and the undersheriff, and all the rest require the treasurer's signature and my signature. According to what you've set up. You've set up a finance department. You know, if you don't want to have me sign it, have Dean Bott sign it. Because these are the ones that are responsible for that function, for making sure that your budget is in place and this check is okay to be cut, to pay that vendor because you've authorized the payment. It's the legal piece of accounts payable.
Do we actually
Sonny.
sign those checks, or is that electronic signature?
It's an electronic, we currently have.
I was going to say, it's got to be electronic
We
signature.
currently have 2 types of checks. The bulk or the main check that we process is a vendor or an accounts payable check. And when you look at Bonnie's cover, the first step is to have Dave's signature replace the county clerk. So the accounts payable or vendor checks will have 2 signatures. They currently have the county clerk and the county treasurer. And with this change, it would have the county administrator, controller, and the county treasurer as the authorized signer on the accounts payable or vendor checks. Bonnie came up with a great idea to resolve the issue with the payroll checks, and that is to have all 3 individuals or officials sign on our payroll checks, so we don't have an issue with this statutory requirement that the clerk sign for certain elected officials and their deputies. So there's two actions here, really, that should take place.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to make the suggested changes to the county clerk, or the county check program, as long as Mr. Cooney, who happens to be sitting right here, is in compliance, that this is the right thing for us to do.
Yeah, sure.
It's a little confusing, just to try to read through it, but.
Yes, I did review Chris Forsythe's memo, and I agree with it.
Okay.
Second.
So, Bonnie, do you have the motion as to how we want it read?
Motion to...
Well, I
Well,
assume
basically,
those
the
two,
recommendation.
Okay.
the 2 recommendations.
Okay, very
There's
good.
two pieces to the recommendation.
Yes.
Authorize the removal of the county clerk's name from accounts payable checks and replace it with the county administrator controller, and add the county administrator controller's name to payroll checks along with the county clerk and treasurer.
We have a motion, and we have a second. Is there any more discussion? Charlie?
I'll second it.
That's already seconded.
Fine. No further discussion.
I suspect there should be 2 motions.
Doesn't matter.
I don't see why it couldn't be done as just one motion unless one of the commissioners has a different opinion about payroll checks versus
No, let's just do it.
Okay.
accounts payable.
All right.
Do we need a roll call on this?
You don't need it.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Next is ESRI GSI software maintenance support renewal.
Want to take this down, or do you want to?
This is the maintenance renewal contract for the GIS software that's used by the GIS department. It does go through IT, we pay the bill. But basically, their vendor is ESRI, And they're the only ones that offer the maintenance. So if we're going to stick with the software and we want maintenance on it, this is the price that we pay for it.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the request approval to renew the ESRI GIS software maintenance support in the amount of $17,400.
Support.
Support by Thomas. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Next is the staffing plan changes for Health Department and DPW.
Good evening, Jen Seaman, Human Resources Director. These are just two changes. Both of these positions became vacant, and they're really just changing the job title of existing positions to more accurately align with the two jobs, one in the Health Department and one in the Department of Public Works, with what those employees are doing. They are the same pay grade, so there's no change there.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to authorize the two staffing plan recommendations as outlined by the HR Director, one in the Health Department and one in the Department of Public Works.
Support. Support by Thomas. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Next is staffing plan change for Parks and Recreation.
Oh, interesting.
I'll let Jason take the lead on this one.
Over the past, since January of 2012, our department's been without, Jason Jones, County Parks and Recreation Director, has been without an aquatic manager due to medical leave of our previous aquatic manager. During that time, we've kind of tested to see how things have gone with temporary employees, and while temporary employees have worked all right for us, we've found that one of the biggest challenges is having, or biggest obstacles to overcome in that position is better communication, and to have someone that is in more of an administrative assistant type capacity. So what I've proposed to Jen and what I proposed to the board is changing our staffing plan, and I have proposed this to the Parks and Rec Commission, making a change to our staffing plan to eliminate the aquatic manager position and replace it with an office manager position. This is an item that during the Parks and Recreation Commission's approval of the 2013 budget, the Parks and Recreation Commission made a motion that was carried to eliminate the aquatic manager position and made another motion to establish an office manager position for the Parks and Recreation Department.
I would move for approval.
Support. Jason, will that be a new hire then?
Pardon?
Jason, will that be a new hire then?
This is a position we will hire a new employee for.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Thank you.
Next is the county clerk staffing plan.
Do you want me to?
You can, yeah.
Okay. This is another, more of just a detailed, a little change here. Bonnie has promoted Lynn Stockwell, who was the chief deputy in circuit court records, to the deputy position, her former position, and the chief deputy position said chief deputy circuit court records. Bonnie would like to have it be the chief deputy county clerk. So it's just a matter of a change within those duties. It really an assignment for that position, does not change the job grade or anything like that.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman, as presented.
I'll second that.
Support by Lathrop. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion opposed? Motion's carried.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is the Traverse Area District Library Memorandum of Understanding.
Bob, do you want to take that, or?
Would you like me to say something about that? I think the board's direction the last time this came up was for me to see if the city was going to move on this at all as far as the language. As you will recall, they were unhappy with the criteria in the original memorandum of understanding that I prepared that would have excluded city residents from county appointments. And so they just struck that language. There were some stylistic changes only also made by their attorney, and you should see those at the board packet. and those were fine. The city just really isn't going to move on this, at least that's the word I get from the city attorney. And so your options at this point would be to either accept the agreement the way that the city has presented it to you, to reject it, or to prepare some counteroffer, that some different language that you think would be more appropriate.
Well, Mr. Chairman, this was kind of my billy whack.
Excuse me,
Yes.
Chris had her hand up.
Oh, I'm
first.
sorry, I didn't see that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The city's position is one I happen to agree with. City residents are county residents also. And therefore, I would move to authorize the chair to sign the Traverse Area District Library Memorandum of Understanding.
Second.
Any other discussion?
Just quickly, just for the two board members, this is something we've been working on for about 6 months with a representative from the city, the mayor, Estes, and as well as some library board members to come to maybe a better arrangement of how appointments occur. Previously, the city had 3 and we had 4. We agreed that we would take 5 and they would take 2 because of the population shift from the original agreement back in the early 80s, and that we would do our best to kind of geographically put more weight on our selection to match something close to the county commissioner districts. It doesn't have to be exact, it's just a guideline. So I'm fine with this agreement, and if we do approve it, the next appointment, that the county has, we would just look to this agreement in terms of some direction for the appointment.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Pardon me?
Aye.
All right.
Roll call.
You opposed it?
Yes, he did.
Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Rennie?
Yes.
Yes.
Lathrop? Max Bauer?
Yes.
Wheelock?
Yes.
Thomas?
Nope.
Inman?
Yes.
Lemko?
Yes. Motion
I can
passes.
look at an address and figure it out.
Next is claims.
I provided the claims for the month of January. The total is $6,537,282.03, and I would ask for your approval.
Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion by Wheelock, support by Thomas. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
You have to do a roll call on the
Oh,
claim.
roll call, excuse me.
You'll learn all this as the chairman.
Commissioner Lathrop?
Yes.
Max Bauer?
Yes.
Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Thomas?
Yep.
Inman?
Yes.
Rennie?
Yes.
Lemko?
Yes. Next is the added item, a resolution to approve updated 911 service plan. Jamela, you want to talk about that?
Jamel Anderson, Grand Traverse 911 Director, and we're asking for you to approve this resolution. What happened was I had brought an agenda item to you, I believe it was in November, and then I hadn't clearly communicated to Chris that it needed a resolution. We thought we were on the same page, and she thought she needed a date for it to be published before there was a resolution. So basically, we're just trying to correct that and get this moving forward so that we can have our plan current. That makes sense.
Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the resolution to update the 911 service plan as presented. Support.
Support by Wheelock, was it?
Yep.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for staying.
Did we finally get the seamless communication through the Leelanau County Center taken care of?
Yes, we're almost there. This
I know
has to do
we've
with
been
that
working
also.
on it for 2.5, 3 years.
Yeah, the gas
Or
line
more.
thing is all fine. For those of you that knew about that, all taken care of. And we're also having, Smart 911 is coming to public safety to do a presentation for anyone who is interested in seeing that. I don't want to keep you any longer, but just to let you know that they are coming. If you have questions, please let me know. If you want to know more about that, they'll be here from Boston to show us their stuff.
That's cool. Just to clarify, there was a gas leak problem I mean,
Yeah,
you're trying
there was
to,
a-
you're leaving the public and it hanging.
I'm sorry, I apologize. There was a gas main that had broken down Bowerman and Summit City Road, and initially they were evacuating a few homes in that location, but it quickly got shut down and everything seems to be fine now.
Good.
So
Okay, I just didn't want to.
I appreciate it, that you're right.
Okay, thank you. Is there a commissioner, or excuse me, second public comment? Anybody from the public wish to make a comment? Kind of bashful, huh? Okay. All right. Next is commissioner committee reports.
Mr.
Sonny.
Chairman, I have a quick question. In our packet for our board meeting this evening, there is facility use regulations and guidelines in the facility use applications. Were we supposed to take action on that this evening? It wasn't an agenda item, but it was on the administrator's report?
It's under the security policy, isn't it?
Okay, so it just has to do with the fact that if someone rents county facilities and security is required, they are going to be responsible for that cost?
That's correct.
Okay.
That policy is what we were adopting.
Well, I was just kind of confused why that registration or regulation guideline was included.
Yeah.
Other commissioner reports. Chris?
I want to report that the Commission on Aging Executive Committee has recommended to the Commission on Aging Board that we reduce the Commission on Aging Board by 2 members. This has not been addressed by the full board. That will be done at our February meeting, which is the first Tuesday of the month. And I will let you know how that goes.
How many members are there on there, Chris, right now?
15.
I think we've got...
15, I believe.
Well, it was 15, but we've got vacant slots.
So you want to take it down to 13?
We're going to take it down to 13. You know, we don't want to take it down too far. At least we discussed this at executive, primarily because we have a committee system. And what we don't want to get into is where, you know, a few members are just, you know, having to go here, like Charlie is, you know, going from one place to the other. So, and we also want a better chance at a quorum. You know, there are times when people are, because we have a lot of working people on our board. So anyway, we're going to try 13, and I think, I'll let you know. The other thing I wanted to mention was the, on the county's Parks and Rec website, is the 2013 through 2018 proposed DNRE plan, which is available for public comment. So if anyone would like to go to our website and take a look and make public comment, please do so. The other thing I want to report is the special Board of Public Works, and this is primarily for the city residents out there. The special Board of Public Works Finance Committee met today at 9 o'clock, and they directed their, this isn't final yet, but they directed their legal counsel to bring back a letter that they plan to send to the city, which states they will no longer take the 2% leased capacity that they have. They have actually 10%. They're going to knock it down to 8%. In all likelihood, that I shouldn't say in all likelihood, that possibly will increase cost for city sewer.
It probably would.
And they are talking, they had a slight discussion, a brief discussion, on whether or not they need the entire 8% that they have that expires in September of next year. So I don't know where that's going, but that's at the wastewater treatment plant. That is not the septic facility.
Right, and that was, that agreement was executed some time ago.
Yes, it
based on
was.
the anticipation
Yes,
of growth and
yes,
stuff like that.
and it has
so-
not occurred.
Okay.
Any other committee?
And that committee doesn't include me.
No, it doesn't, because it's wastewater.
Well,
And it's,
I'm
yes.
I just
So,
wanted to know why I wasn't there.
I was there because they were talking about city sewer rates and...
yeah, I just want to make a comment about the Parks and Recreation. I had a chance to go through that. You got a couple hours that you're going to have to go through that. It's a very good inventory, and it really talks about all the different public comment periods that they've had on different parts of the plan. I think it's done a good job as far as it goes. I think it needs to go further, but it's nicely done, very well put together. So, And then also, the Conservation District was just alerted that they received a grant for just under $400,000 for the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative to combat invasive species. So they're going to continue working on that. That's a good thing for them. And then we have the calendars that everybody has. Chris tells me the calendar is online and that you can pull it up, and you can get two different ways, either this way, the way it shows here, or you can get it in a printed form that gives you more information. She just can't get everything in here. She does have all the townships that are on here. She doesn't have the villages, I don't think.
I talked to her about that.
Yeah.
I believe she said she was going to add that.
She's going to try and add those to them.
It's a room situation, I guess.
Yeah, so we're going to try and do, it is starting to get rather full on the calendar. So, but you can
But
print it out two different ways.
It's helpful.
I think it's going to be very helpful. The other thing I'd like to ask is, I've had the thought of trying to maybe bring in township people to come in and make a presentation at some of our meetings, to ask them to maybe sit on a rotating basis or something, to come in and talk about what is it they're doing, so we understand what's happening for their township, and then also to put on some of our agendas the different committees that will be part of that particular agenda that you can make reports on. So we may be expanding the agenda just a little bit. My challenge with this is the timing of how much time we spend on the meeting. So we're going to have to balance this, and I don't want to have us going into 4-hour meetings. So we'll see how that works, but this is some of the things I'm looking for. The other thing is that at the end of each meeting, I'm going to ask how you feel the meeting went, and if you think that needed to be any changes in the way we do our meetings. And then also, if you have any agenda items that you think ought to be coming up in the future, if you would please let us know so we can be able to make sure they get on the agenda. So if you have some ideas that you think you want to bring here, this is a great time at the end of the meeting to talk about how we want the agenda to look in the future. So rather than just looking at today, we want to look down the road a little bit. So how did the meeting go? Are you happy?
You talk too much.
Okay, thank you. We're good. Okay, and is there any agenda items that you would like to see added to
Do you
it?
think everyone does?
A motion to adjourn would be appropriate.
Pardon?
I think a motion to adjourn would be appropriate.
That looks good to me. We're adjourned. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
did good, Herb.
Good job on your first year.
Just an hour longer than my shortest.
Yeah.
We were driven to the end of that.
Yeah, I was at that meeting. It was a barn burner.
Somebody-